Welcome everyone on today's Metal3 Community meeting. My name is Adam Rosman. I will be your host today. Please note that the meeting is recorded. And as always, we will start with introductions. So if you are a new participant on this meeting, please introduce yourself if you want.
My name is Moshe Levy from NVIDIA. What else? I in the past contributed to OpenStack, currently contributing to Kubernetes, and we have some interesting contribution we want to do for Metal3, for bare metal operator.
Welcome. We are happy that you joined our meeting. I hope it will be useful. Is there anyone else who would like to do a quick introduction?
Hi, I'm Ivan Kolodyazny. I'm working with Moshe with NVIDIA on some Kubernetes related stuff. And I'm interested in contribution to bare metal operator too.
Welcome, Ivan. I hope also that the meeting will be useful for you too.
So hi, my name is Alexander Maslenikov, and I work with Moshe and Ivan as well, and also want to contribute to bare metal operator.
It's great. Welcome, all of you. I see that everyone is from NVIDIA. That's good to see. Okay. Is there anyone else? I think no. I think everyone was on this meeting before. So I think we can continue. So there is one reminder on the agenda. I think that this is especially relevant now. This is our adapters file. So if you who joined from NVIDIA today, you feel that you want to introduce yourself as an official adopter. So basically disclose that NVIDIA is using this product and this project and then join as an official contributor, then you can do so by creating a pull request and extending this list of adopters. You can see that we already have a few members here. It is not mandatory, but it would be very, very useful for the project. But it's up to you. Then now we would progress to the agenda points. I see one agenda points, and then I will ask you to please describe your agenda point, and then we can start a discussion about it.
Yeah, so I have a presentation. Actually, I got feedback on this PR, so I from Zen and Dimitri, and actually I want to present the presentation, then going over the PR because it's not up to date to what we are planning to do. So just let me, if I can share my screen, if it's fine, show my presentation I prepare, and then I will present it.
Yes, I think now you can share it.
Yeah, let me see. So basically, what we want to add for bare metal operator is firmware support, firmware update support from burning the firmware itself, and also doing a firmware settings. So I will go over on the use case and goals, and then some proposal we'll have for firmware images and firmware settings. Hopefully that will satisfy the bare metal operator design goal, like design principles. So first, the use case is fairly simple. Cloud admin wants to burn and configure the vendor firmware before the OS is deployed on the bare metal host, and make sure that all the firmware is aligned to what he expects, right? And basically our goal is to define an API first of all, for a way to burn firmware images using bare metal operator, and also an API for doing the settings for firmware using bare metal operator. I know for the latter you have some API for BIOS that allows to do firmware settings, but yeah, we'll go over that. Basically, also what NVIDIA goals here is actually we want a way to implement NVIDIA firmware burning on our NICs, basically. We want a way to burn the images before the bare metal host is provisioned. And also we have like NVIDIA specific firmware configuration. For example, enabling SRIOV, setting like what is the maximum numbers of the VAFs that our NIC firmware supports. All of those things we want to be able to support it. Basically, it's using like Ionic IPA. So we're also contributing to Ionic IPA to be able to do those kind of functionality. And this proposal is how to link that what we are contributing to Ionic and Ionic agent to be used in bare metal operator. So this is like what our motivation here. Yes. So our proposal, so I split it to two parts. One part is just how to do firmware image, okay? And basically our proposal is to define a new CRD, which is an host firmware image. The CRD is not like a vendor specific, I would say. It's describing like the URL, what is the binary that you want, the checksum for the validation, who is the vendor that this image come from, what is the component, for example, for NVIDIA, it can be net or maybe GPU later on. Currently, we're just interested in net, and like a component ID, and what is exactly the firmware version that we want to burn on the image. And it's basically a list. And actually, this can be also reused, and what Ionic can do today for out-of-band firmware update, for example, with Redfish and ILO. So I look also on what Ionic currently support. It's fairly similar, so it can have the URL of the firmware that you want to download, the checksum, what is the checksum type, who is the vendor that's doing that. There are some for example, in ILO, you can specify a component, like if you want to do a BIOS or a NIC or whatever, and like you can specify the version. So basically, the idea is to put all these lists of what is the firmware update that we want to do either in band or in our case, using the IPA in this spec CRD, and we have the status. And the firmware status is actually where we are saying, like, if it's one way, it can be like not applicable, right? If maybe the hardware is not even there, or it can be applied if the hardware is already matching, right? Or out of date, and then you need to do reconcile and do basically an Ionic run a cleaning step. So all those. Anyway, all of those firmware updates map to some cleaning steps in the Ionic flow. Okay. And basically, what I'm raising here is that we can do this CRD. It can be part of. There is already existing controller which is called I think host firmware settings. We can do a different controller just for this CRD. Validation, we can extend the validation webhook component ID and whatever. The only challenging part, so I know BMC, sorry, I know for out of band for BIOS, these kind of things, you can know what is the vendor and you can do like a really reconcile, because you know what is the appropriate version you have and what is the current version compared to the desired one. And it seems that also we can do it with NICs. By the way, any questions until now? Because I'm talking and no one asked questions, so I'm just want to make sure that.
I have, but I wanted to ask at the end.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Regarding the NICs, so anyway, so the API here is defined is like not to vendor specific, like it should be suitable to all cases. Specifically for network cards or NVIDIA network cards, right? Even today, when you run it, Ionic Inspector, you have the extra hardware hook, which is actually grabbing all the information. And also one of the information that is grabbing is also the firmware from the ETH tool. So basically our idea is when we do the introspection phase, right, we can update the status of the NIC, right, and understand if it's what currently firmware he has and what is the PSID, which is this number here, MET underscore something, is actually like our component ID. And from that, we can do like a really what is the current state of the device compared to what is the desired state of what the user requested, and understand if we need to run the cleaning step, or we can, or everything is already matching and we don't need it. Even today, you are exposing this data. For example, the speed port is actually from the extra. And you have the NIC object, which is just describing the NIC functionality. So another option maybe to extend also it here in the NIC and also specify what is the firmware of the NIC if you want, and what is the basically the firmware of the NIC. So this one part of the proposal, I will split it to two proposals. So this is only addressing how we want to do, how do we think it's possible to do like a firmware update with bare metal operator. This is one part of it. And the second part is like how to do firmware settings. Firmware settings, so currently we have host firmware settings, which is kind of generic and it's used for BIOS configuration. What we want to do is to extend it with an option for a vendor config, okay? The vendor config can be like a reference to a config map or some other stuff, right? Which how the vendor configuration is look like, and it's owned by the vendor itself. And basically, we also want to keep the checksum of the configuration, because I don't know, maybe cases when the configuration is changed by the admin before we actually did the provisioning. And in this case, so we're going to have like a list of vendor settings in addition to the setting maps that is already exist today for the BIOS. And then for each vendor, we have the vendor name, like what component is have like for example, for NVIDIA, it could be NVIDIA and component net. And then based of checksum changes, we can understand if we need to, if the actual state is matching the desired state, and understand if we need to do like cleaning steps to trigger the operation. Of course, in this case, for us as a firmware configuration, we cannot know like what is the current stat, like what is the actual status in the start of the world of what it is. So basically, the assumption is that we don't know when it's empty, and only after the first provisioning we have like what is the current state, and then maybe we can reconcile it and later on. And in the last slide, I have just
Sorry.
like an example on how the firmware settings look like for NVIDIA, but basically each vendor can create like its own way of how he wants to set its device.
Sorry,
Yeah, so,
I have a question. I'm confused about this one because like all of the host firmware settings are vendor settings.
Yes, but for BIOS.
Okay. So like adding
I don't want, because currently as far as I remember how it's working in bare metal operator from the look I look, they have a query that they're querying Ironic, and Ironic can tell them what is the BIOS Windows specific, and then they can do like this validation and understand more.
yes, it
Now,
pulls
this-
everything out of everything out
Yeah,
of
from the
Redfish.
Ironic
That's
API.
fair.
Yeah, but in our case, we cannot do like what is the vendor NIC scheme or something like that, because we only know it from when Ironic Python agent, and we don't even have these kinds of API in Ironic and Ironic Python agent. So I try to simplify it to something that no. To simplify it, because BIOS it's built in Ironic. Other devices are not like, so other devices are not like that. So so this is why I'm adding this additional vendor settings.
It seems like we have a naming problem at least because
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
all of this is
because
vendor. Yeah.
yes, but I think if it was like a BIOS settings, maybe it was so. But I don't know. I didn't want to go into why this is the name, and yeah. But I think but I agree. There is a naming. I think in general there is a naming issue. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I finished.
Parts of
This
this
is all.
seem a bit weird to me, but yeah, maybe we can discuss on the review.
With what I'm proposal, or with what currently we have. So
like just like dropping something into the host firmware settings that is coming from IPA rather than Ironic seems a bit odd, but maybe I just don't understand the workflow. I'm also confused about why there's a checksum in the spec.
why we have a check somewhere?
In the desired settings.
Because we want to, because in cases someone change the config afterwards, so we just want to know what was the actual one that we wanted to modify. Anyway, this is
Right.
can we
can you calculate the checksum from the settings that you're providing? Like, why should the user have to tell you the checksum?
I doesn't mean the user need to. Yeah, I can control it by myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it should only be in the actual settings, not in the desired settings, right? Like you take the checksum of the desired settings and like check that against the stored checksum in the actual settings.
I think there were maybe corner cases if the config change, but I think this is maybe we can this is fine, discussing this like in the PR. I'm just the reason I did the presentation is like I know firmware setting, like firmware in general, like I'm not sure how bare metal operator community thinks about it. So it's a very vendor specific. So this is why I wanted to do a presentation before I'm like writing again a new spec for it and describing the solution, because I want to understand like how the community is feeling about firmware updates, and if what I'm proposing here makes sense from your principles in the project of bare metal operator and so on. So if they're like if we agree that the direction is good, and then like they're need to change here and there, then this is no problem. We can do it in the spec itself, in the PR itself. Yeah. So
okay, yeah.
questions?
Yeah, I have. So I don't have anything in principle against these firmware settings spec and this CRD. Anything basically on the Kubernetes level, on the BMO level, that you will anyway always like iteratively clarify with Zane and Dimitri, probably under the PI. My question is that if I understood correctly, or actually the part that I didn't understand completely is that you mentioned that there is no API endpoint in Ironic at the moment that would support this sort of firmware settings, only for BIOS, but not for these cards. And what is the plan that how will the BMO communicate this address to this this firmware image and these things to the IPA if there is no endpoint inside the Ironic or endpoint on the Ironic API?
The question is only on the settings, right?
Yeah, that how will basically the settings that you specify
Yeah.
here, how will they
So-
reach the IPA?
How the settings that I'm describing here will reach Ironic Python agent? That's the question.
Yes.
So basically, right. At first, in the first phase, we don't have any setting in status, so it's empty. So we will go in the way that we will know that we need to. There is a mismatch, right? There is a mismatch, right? And we need to do something. So in the provisioner level, right? When we will get these vendor settings, right? Basically, we will have a translation, right? So you have like the vendor name, NVIDIA, component name, network. So it will be mapped to the actual cleaning steps that we are going to push to IPA. So we have a patch in IPA on how to do the settings, which is just like adding a JSON blob, which look like this, something like this, okay? So basically, according to the vendor name, so think about that we will have like a mapping function, like vendor component and the config. And then in the low level, when you call the cleaning step, you will need to translate it to, this is vendor NVIDIA component net, and this is the config. So it's calling Ironic step, cleaning step, NVIDIA firmware settings, and this is the arguments that it's expecting.
Yeah, I get that you have an element or some patch in the IPA and the IPA.
It's not element in APA. It's in the hardware manager, so it's in the IPA upstream.
Okay.
I think it's a custom hardware manager, is it?
It's a hardware. It's yeah. I can show you in the OpenStack code what it means, but basically IPA is supporting hardware manager framework, right? So vendor can extend it to do their proprietary stuff. Currently, the only two vendors that have something there, it's Mellanox, which is actually NVIDIA now, and Intel, right? And now we are extending this IPA also to do firmware changes and firmware configuration, okay?
Yeah.
For two reasons. Once it will solve us problems in OpenStack, and also in this case.
Yeah, okay. I understand on the IPA level you use this custom hardware manager. The data that you specify here will end up there in the IPA's custom hardware manager. Okay, I get it. But the BMO talks at the moment to the Ironic, and whatever we want tell the IPA, we tell it through the Ironic. So from BMO to Ironic, from Ironic to the IPA. But then you mentioned that there is no endpoint in the Ironic, or did I understand it incorrectly?
No, I said for BIOS, right? For BIOS, you can specify there is an endpoint in Ironic that you can query, like what is this vendor specific scheme for vendor specific configuration, and then you can do better validation, okay? Than what we are proposing for vendors with IPA, because with IPA you cannot do that. Okay, this is a feature that Ironic has for BIOS. It's not implemented for other stuff.
So I have to drop, but just briefly, I think you're saying the answer to Mal's question is cleaning steps, right? So that's how you send the data in. How do you get the current status out?
The current the current status I don't know. Once I apply it and it succeeded, yeah. So I know what is the actual status after it, right? I don't have a good mechanism to reconcile it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That could be a problem because like that's,
you know, for example, in firmware, in firmware it was
that's
it
what we
was
try to do
better
with
because
firmware,
because in firmware after I looking in the Ironic introspection and I say the extra hardware, so I saw, oh, I have a way to get the firmware and the PSID, so I can understand my actual state once it did the provisioning, right? Yeah. And then after it, when I burn a new firmware and it succeeded, so I will know what is the actual firmware, right? Unless we will do introspection each time, yeah. But in this case, because it's a very vendor-specific configuration, and it comes from IPA, and it's not like for out of band, right? You don't use IPA. You have drivers that talk Redfish or talk ILO, and you can do things directly with the Ironic API, but for IPA, it's not the case. So yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, I think I now get what you want. Well, by the way, have you? How come that you are not planning on making some endpoint for yourself in the upstream Ironic, something that would help you do this, like some sort of I don't know, something similar that we have for BIOS, like, because I see that you are putting like the actual update of this firmware things into this cleanup, custom cleanup. But how come you not approached the like the Ironic people to extend the API just to make it a bit more simple for you?
We can, but the question is like if it's from your perspective a blocker for the settings, or it's like you can do it as a phase 2, because it's just more community more from the with the Ironic people, and I need also to see if they think it makes sense. So you know, it's like
yeah. From my part, in principle, I don't have any issue with this. If you have this firmware settings and then basically, as I see, like the harder part will be for you is to like make it work correctly with Ironic and the IPA. On our end, it does not seem to be that big of a problem, at least as I understand. I'm just thinking that could there be something in the BMO, but no. For me it's fine. I think Zane had no objections. Probably they will go through your proposal in detail many times.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys think it's worth like writing, like updating my patch, or I can split it to two if you think it makes sense, like do firmware, because firmware images is like can be like a different topic, like a different PR, and firmware settings is a different, or whatever you think it's makes sense, or I can put everything together. So
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to ask that let's say you already did these PRs, we accepted these CRDs and they become part of BMO. But have you tested your idea just on the ironic level? I mean that have you tried to inject this data through the custom cleanup and then?
of course we have a working PR that is under review.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
just missing. We did like a pair of, I will tell you, pair of the discussion from the comments we got from you guys. We also understand that how we define it in the IPA, it's a bit problematic. So we're now doing a redesign a little bit. But the patch was already got like a +2 from the OpenStack community. There's no like objection to it. It was didn't merge at the time because it was missing unit test. But anyway, we're going to change it to be like more friendly in the way that we can pass these kinds of configuration in this way. In a way that it will be easier for BMO to consume according to this proposal.
Yeah.
If you want, I can send you the PR. So just a second.
Yeah, that would.
I can put it in the chat. Yeah, so it's not like and we also tested the PR itself, and we tested it like without coding, just to bare metal operator. So as a POC code, yes. So it's not like something we are. By the way, let me just stop sharing. Where is the chat? Yeah. So basically, this is the PR that we are working on in the IPA. Yeah. And of course, we first we will need this to be get merged, of course. So everything will go work. So it's.
Okay, I think if like as you explained, you already managed to get it past the ironic committee and you managed to implement the POC and then inject these things. So you are actually done the hard part, and I think, as I said, in principle, we have nothing against it. So it's a good feature if it's already doable, although a bit finicky, but doable in the ironic ecosystem, then I think we will be able to bring it in. At least that is my opinion.
Yeah, I want to also just to clarify one thing regarding the firmware images. So also the good thing is like, of course, we're going to define the API and do the NVIDIA implementation, but also for the community perspective, you can take it after it and add the ILO, out of band firmware update and redfish and whatever. So yeah, so everyone benefits from it.
Okay, let me just put it into the chat also. This one. Anyone else? Do you have any questions related to this? I don't. I'm okay with it. Okay, if not, then thank you. That was a very interesting topic, and we will continue the discussion on this, I believe, and I think this will be useful for many users of our project. And as always, if there are no other questions, we could continue with the triaging, but I see that we are already spent quite a lot of time. So would it be okay with the community if we would do the triaging next week? Because we have 17 minutes and the triaging might take a lot of time. would it be okay with you? Is there anyone who is against it, who want to do this now?
Not just wanted to mention that next week, probably some people
Okay.
will not be here. I mean, it's not exactly the holidays, the end of the year holidays week, but still probably a lot of people will be out.
Okay, then let's. You are right. Yeah, let's do it now. I agree. I agree. This is better if we do it right now. It might be that we don't have that many things. I haven't checked. So we have auto discovery. This is old. I will quickly, as usual, just go through it. And if there is something interesting, I will stop and we can discuss this. Old, no communication on this. Again, old, no communication. Okay, this is actually fair. Yeah, there is no response. This we discussed. No response. And that we discussed in detail. And I discussed it. Kashif, are you here still? We discussed it
Yeah.
offline.
Yeah, I have actually talked with downstream people, and the environment is not available anymore, so I couldn't fetch any more logs or anything. But I will populate this issue once I have more. I have asked the downstream people to actually look into this and give us a bit more clarity on the use case and when this is happening.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, then I will leave this alone. And the others are basically frozen. No communication is going on them. Okay. Do we have something in stale that shouldn't be stale? This is an old ticket. And yeah, I think I know what's the problem. Could be the problem with this. And I think this is not a bug. I think it's either that the person's certificate for Ironic was incorrect, and that's why it's failing when the Ironic containers in the pod checking themselves or like each other, basically that are the containers in the pod running, and then there is probably some issue with the certificate that was put inside the pod in that slash in that like shared directory in that slash certs, and that's why it's failing. I've seen it downstream also, but it's not a bug in my opinion. So I have to comment here. Okay, add more logs for provider ID and BMH ID information. This is not stale. This is still something that we want. And I can remove the stale, just not really important, but nice to have. And it already has all the labels, all the relevant labels. And then customized property of BMH. Okay, and this is already, there is already discussion was going on this, but it seems that not anymore. Let me ask the person who opened this. And then if there comes no answer, then it will just close automatically. Okay, so these were the stale, not much in the stale. Frozen. Split up separate. Okay, that stays in frozen. We discussed many times. Connection test stays in frozen. We discussed it, I think, 2 weeks ago. Open up the possibility of using all device hint operators. We discussed this. I will make it at some point if I have less thing to do. So there is nothing in the frozen. And then in the have wanted, is there something new? No, the last user guide. The improvements for Devam that we discussed many times. Yeah, that I discussed right now already. This is the error that I always highlight. That this might be a legitimate error, and there was some traction on it, but nobody is working on this. So on CapM3, and the number is 665. So if you are interested to fix some bug or dive into this, that might be a potential bug. And then the update customized image property. This is stale, yes, and then failed update when host, and there is host not found for the machine. And there is again the same person, and again no communication. By the way, do we like should have anyone tried to invite this person to the community meetings, because this person opened a lot of tickets, like half of our issues coming from this handle, so this contributor. So I'm not sure that what should we do, because
It's from NVIDIA, so you want, I can ask him.
yeah, it would be nice just for like getting sync, because as I said, half of the issues are coming from this contributor, and everywhere the communication is.
They say on the copy level. Yeah, let me take it internally, and I won't be able to join next meeting because I'm out of office, but we will have some representative. Okay, so
yeah.
let me help you here.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
That would be a big help, because if most of these long-running silent issues are not important anymore, we just close it. Like, it would help us to clear out tickets. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so that's all for the triaging. And is there any other issue that you want to discuss? Any suggestions, problems, improvements, requests, questions, anything? Okay, if nothing, then thank you for your time, and thank you for the good presentation. I hope that we will progress with this firmware update topic, and we will see each other next week, same time. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.